I was driving for Uber late one night, exhausted after a long day. I had just dropped off a group of rowdy passengers and was looking forward to calling it a night. Then I received a request from a solo passenger. He got in, and we made small talk at first. He asked me about my day and where I was headed after dropping him off. I thought nothing of it, assuming he was just being friendly. But as we drove deeper into the night, his questions became more intrusive. He asked about my personal life, my family, and my address. I tried to brush it off, but he kept pushing. That's when I started to feel uneasy. I tried to stay calm and focused on the road, but my mind raced with worst-case scenarios. Why was he asking me these questions? What did he want from me? I tried to make small talk again, but he just grunted in response. As we approached his destination, he suddenly asked me to take a detour through a dark, deserted alley. My gut screamed no, but I didn't want to be rude. I hesitated for a moment, and that's when he lunged at me from the back seat, grabbing me by the shoulders. Time froze as I swerved and slammed on the brakes, sending him tumbling onto the floor. I locked the doors and called for help, my heart racing like a jackrabbit. He fled on foot, disappearing into the night like a ghost. I was shaken, my mind reeling with fear and adrenaline. I reported the incident to Uber and the police, but I never heard anything back. From that day on, I never picked up a solo passenger again.
I was out with friends one night and decided to call an Uber to take me home. The driver arrived quickly and I hopped in the car, ready to relax and unwind after a long night. But as soon as we started driving, I noticed that the driver was acting strangely. He kept muttering to himself and glancing back at me in the rearview mirror with a menacing look in his eyes. I started to feel uneasy, but tried to brush it off as my imagination playing tricks on me. However, my unease turned to sheer terror when the driver suddenly veered off the main road and into a dark, secluded area. I realized too late that we were nowhere near my neighborhood, and I was completely at the mercy of this disturbed driver. I demanded to know where he was taking me, but he just chuckled and said he had a special surprise in store for me. I felt my heart pounding in my chest as I realized I was in serious danger. With adrenaline coursing through me, I made a split-second decision and unbuckled my seatbelt, ready to make a run for it as soon as the car stopped. I waited for the perfect moment and then bolted out of the car, not looking back until I was safely back on the main road. I reported the driver to Uber and the police, but the horror of that night still lingers in my mind. I shudder to think of what could have happened if I hadn't trusted my instincts and taken action.
I remember that eerie night like it was yesterday. The rain pounded relentlessly against the car window, blurring the neon signs outside. I was an Uber driver, navigating the dimly lit streets of the city, my GPS guiding me through the labyrinth of alleys. The app pinged with a new ride request. The pickup location was an old, decrepit building at the edge of town. I hesitated for a moment, but the promise of a fare pulled me toward the address. As I pulled up to the curb, the building loomed before me, a relic from a forgotten era. The passenger emerged from the shadows, a figure cloaked in darkness. Their face was obscured by a hood, and their eyes gleamed like twin coals. They slid into the back seat without a word, and the air grew colder. I glanced at the app. The destination was listed as unknown. "Where to?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Keep driving," they whispered, their breath chilling my spine. "Don't stop until I tell you." I drove, the rain drumming on the roof, the wipers struggling to keep up. The streets grew emptier, the buildings more dilapidated. My heart raced as we entered a desolate industrial area, the only sound the hum of the engine. "Why the secrecy?" I finally asked, my curiosity overpowering my fear. The passenger leaned forward, their eyes boring into mine. "You're not just an Uber driver," they said. "You're a conduit, a bridge between the living and the dead." My blood turned to ice. "What do you mean?" "Look around," they said, gesturing to the abandoned warehouses. "These are the forgotten places, the liminal spaces where spirits linger. You're taking me to the threshold, the place where I can cross over." I gripped the steering wheel, my mind reeling. Cross over to what? To the other side, they whispered. To the realm beyond. But there's a price. What price? I stammered. You'll see, they said. Just keep driving. The rain intensified, the windshield fogging up. Shapes moved in the shadows, figures with hollow eyes reaching out for us. I drove faster, my heart pounding. The passengers' breath grew ragged, their form flickering like a dying candle. And then we arrived, a crumbling bridge spanning a chasm of darkness. The passengers stepped out, their hood falling back to reveal a face etched with sorrow. Thank you, they said. You've done your part. I watched as they stepped onto the bridge, their form dissolving into mist. The air crackled with energy, and I felt a pull, a force dragging me toward the abyss. But I slammed on the brakes, my tires screeching. No, I shouted. I won't go. The passenger turned, their eyes filled with pity. You already have, they said. Every ride, every fare, it's all payment, and now it's time to settle the debt. I tried to flee, but the car wouldn't start. The bridge beckoned, its black maw swallowing everything. As I stepped onto it, the rain ceased and the world blurred. Faces appeared, passengers I'd driven, lost souls seeking passage. And then I was falling into the void, my screams drowned by the wind. The last thing I heard was the passenger's voice. Welcome home.